أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ذكر ختم الخواجان نية. أشهد أن لا إله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أستغفر الله 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 الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم وأتوب إليه إنه هو التواب الرحيم. يا مسبب الأسباب يا مفتح الأبواب يا مقلب القلوب والأبصار يا دليل المتحيرين يا غياث المستغيثين يا حي يا قيوم يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. وأفوض أمري إلى الله إن الله بصير بالعباد. رابطة الشريفة سلطان رضي الله عنه. Connect your hearts to Mawlana Shaykh Muhammad Adil al-Haqqani al-Rabbani. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فاتحة الشريفة 7 times. مالك يوم الدين. الحمد لله رب العالمين. آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلوات الشريفة 10 times. اللهم صل. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألم نشرح لك الشريفة 7 times. فإنما بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إخلاص الشريفة إلى متعب. قل الله أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فاتحة الشريفة. سلام تعالى. مالك يوم الدين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلوات الشريفة 10 times. اللهم صل. صل.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب قد آتيتني من الملك وعلمتني من تأويل الأحاديث فاطر السماوات والأرض أنت وليي في الدنيا والآخرة توفني مسلما وألحقني بالصالحين. آمنا بالله صدق الله العظيم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. إلى شرف النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى صحبه الكرام وإلى إخوانه من الأنبياء والمرسلين وخدماء شرعهم والأرواح المتعبة وشيخنا في الطريقة النقشبندية العالية خاصة لأهل الخواجقان. الفاتحة.
فأنه لا إله إلا الله. 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 لا إلا الله لا إله 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 إلا الله محمد رسول الله محمد حبيب الله عليه صلاة الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله محمد نبي الله عليه صلاة الله حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم إلى شرف النبي صلى الله تعالى عليه وآله وسلم والأكمل من الأنبياء والمرسلين وعن العلماء المتقين وعن الأولياء الصالحين وصالح ساداتنا صديقين لله تعالى الفاتحة. Allah, 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 Allah. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. هو 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 حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حق 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 حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حي 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 الله 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 يا حي يا قيوم يا ذا الجلال والإكرام يا حي يا قيوم يا ذا الجلال والإكرام يا حي يا قيوم يا ذا الجلال والإكرام يا هو يا هو يا دائم يا هو يا هو يا دائم يا هو يا هو يا دائم الله يا هو يا دائم يا دائم يا دائم يا دائم يا الله يا دائم يا دائم يا دائم يا الله يا حليم يا حليم يا حليم يا الله يا حليم يا حليم يا حليم يا الله يا حفيظ يا حفيظ يا حفيظ يا الله يا حفيظ يا حفيظ يا حفيظ يا الله يا لطيف يا لطيف يا لطيف يا الله يا لطيف يا لطيف يا لطيف يا الله يا غفار يا غفار يا غفار يا الله يا غفار يا غفار يا غفار يا الله يا ستار يا ستار يا ستار يا الله يا ستار يا ستار يا ستار يا الله يا فتار يا فتار يا فتار يا سبحان يا سبحان يا سلطان يا سبحان يا سلطان يا سبحان يا سلطان يا سبحان يا سلطان يا سلطان يا سلطان يا سلطان يا الله يا سلطان يا سلطان يا سلطان يا الله يا أمان يا أمان يا أمان يا الله يا أمان يا أمان يا أمان يا الله 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 يا سلام يا سلام يا سلام يا الله يا سلام يا سلام يا سلام يا الله حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم 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 صل يا ربي وسلم على جميع الأنبياء والمرسلين وآل كل أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين على أشرف العالمين سيدنا محمد الصلوات على أفضل العالمين سيدنا محمد الصلوات على أكمل العالمين سيدنا محمد الصلوات صلوات الله تعالى وملائكته وأنبيائه ورسله وجميع خلقه على محمد وعلى آل محمد عليه وعليهم السلام ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته ورضي الله تعالى وتعالى عن ساداتنا أصحاب رسول الله أجمعين وعن التابعين بهم بإحسان وعن الأئمة المجتهدين الماضين وعن العلماء المتقين وعن الأولياء الصالحين وعلى مشايخنا في الطريقة النقشبندية العالية قدس الله تعالى أرواحهم الزكية ونور الله تعالى أضرحتهم المباركة وعاد الله تعالى علينا من بركاتهم وفيوضاتهم دائما الحمد لله رب العالمين الفاتحة إلى حضرة النبي صلى الله تعالى عليه وآله وسلم وعلى إخوانه من الأنبياء والمرسلين وعن العلماء المتقين وعن الأولياء الصالحين وعلى مشايخنا في الطريقة النقشبندية العالية، خاصة إلى روح إمام الطريقة وغوث الخليقة خواجة شهاب النقشبندي محمد الأويسي البخاري، وسلطان الأولياء مولانا شيخ عبد الله الفائز الداغستاني، أستاذنا خواجة عبد الخالق الوجدواني، وروحنا سيدنا شيخ سيد محمد نازم عادل الحقاني، وسائر ساداتنا صديقين لله تعالى. الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. 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 سبحان الله سلطان الله نبي محمد عليه السلام. 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 عليه السلام. عليه السلام. عليه السلام. عليه السلام. الله يا جليل 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 الجلال الله ذو 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 الجلال حسبنا الله ربنا الله 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 حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير غفرانك ربنا وإليك المصير ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين الفاتحة اللهم صل وسلم على نبينا محمد عليه السلام صلاة تدوم وتهدى إليه وطول الدوام اللهم صل وسلم على نبينا محمد عليه السلام صلاة تدوم وتهدى إليه ممر الليالي وطول الدوام اللهم صل وسلم على نبينا محمد عليه السلام صلاة تدوم وتهدى إليه ممر الليالي وطول الدوام
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. It is narrated that wherever the Salihin, the pious people, their names are mentioned, that Allah's mercy descends upon those places. It is with this intention that we hold this Khatam Sharif today in honor of Janab Qibla Haji Isa Rahmatullah alayhi. His birth name was Sheikh Muhammad Abdul Wahid, but after he performed Hajj at the tender age of 5, he became lonely known as Haji Isa. His noble ancestors trace their lineage back to the first Caliph, Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu. This Siddiqui family migrated from Medina Sharif to Yemen, then to Iran, from Iran to India, and then eventually to Kashmir, and they have remained in Kashmir ever since. Since their arrival in Kashmir, this family has been engaged in spreading the religion, providing grounded guidance and counsel. They assist people in both their religious and worldly affairs. Qibla Haji Isa was no different. He too was busy in carrying the legacy of his noble ancestors. The truth is, no matter how much we say about him today, we will not be able to do justice to his life. Even the article that has been written about him is but a mere introduction. However, tonight I just want to shed light on just a few of his beautiful characteristics. In a hadith sharif, Sayyidina Abu Hurairah narrates that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "Two qualities do not come together in a hypocrite, so that these qualities only a believer can possess. And those two qualities, they are good manners and true understanding of the deen." So this hadith sharif epitomizes Qibla Haji Bisab. Now there are many people from the UK and also many people fortunate from Bury who have had the good fortune of sitting in the company of Haji Bisab, and they have benefited from them. They all note that Qibla Haji Bisab had impeccable manners in all aspects of his life, whether it's scholars, the saints, or the sinners. All who met him testified to this fact. And shortly you will hear some of these personal encounters that people had with the noble Sheikh. Now Qibla Haji Bisab, he was not only knowledgeable in matters of religion, he also had human qualities. He was down to earth, he was approachable, and at times he was humorous and witty. Once, a beardless man presented himself to Qibla Haji Bisab, and he said to them, "I need a cure for my bald head." Qibla Haji Bisab remarked, "Maybe you should focus on growing a beard instead." It was at a young age, they were just a young man when they developed a passion for books. You would never see them sat idle. They would be engaged in reading or busy in Dhikr. In Qibla Haji Bisab, they had many rare manuscripts translated, reprinted and redistributed. And this was for the benefit of both the common folk and students of knowledge. Many scholars praised them for this, because it was very beneficial work they were carrying out for the Ummah. This passion for knowledge, it also led them to set up girls-only schools. They saw the pressing need to empower women and provide them with a platform to achieve this. No doubt, many have and continue to benefit from their initiatives. If we are to take one lesson from the life of Qibla Haji Bisab, then it would be to show the true character of Islam by possessing and displaying good adab. This means to have good adab with people like our parents, our teachers, our neighbours, and even our enemies. Then to have good adab with places like the Masajid, the places of study, and indeed any holy place. And to have good adab with objects, like things which are connected to holy people. And more importantly, we need to have good adab with our Lord, to worship Him as He ought to be, and to have a good opinion of Him, so that we may receive His grace. Without doubt, Qibla Haji Bisab is an individual who lived his life in this beautiful way. As he was in this world, is how he is in the divine presence. May Allah Ta'ala raise his station and allow us to benefit from his works and teachings. اللهم صل على
محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم.
पढ़ते रहो दरूद तुम, पढ़ते रहो दरूद तुम। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला सय्यदिना व मौलाना मुहम्मद। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला सय्यदिना
سيدنا ومولانا محمد
محبت کے کرینوں میں ادب پہلا کرینہ ہے، محبت کے کرینوں میں اللہم
صلی علی سیدنا و مولانا محمد وعلی آلہ وصحبہ وبارک وسلم۔
لب پر لیے درود کا تحفہ ادب کے ساتھ، لب پر لیے درود کا تحفہ ادب کے ساتھ، جائیں گے ہم بھی دیکھنا، جائیں گے ہم بھی دیکھنا طیبہ ادب کے ساتھ۔ اللہم
صلی علی سیدنا و مولانا محمد وعلی آلہ وصحبہ وبارک وسلم۔
شاہ کے چہرے کو دیکھا ہے جس گھڑی، شاہ کے چہرے کو دیکھا ہے جس گھڑی، حضرت عمر نے پڑھ لیا، حضرت عمر نے پڑھ لیا کلمہ ادب کے ساتھ۔
اللہم صلی علی سیدنا و مولانا محمد وعلی آلہ وصحبہ وبارک وسلم۔
دہلیز مصطفیٰ پہ نکل جائے جس قدم، دہلیز مصطفیٰ پہ نکل جائے جس قدم، اس کا ملک پڑھیں گے، اس کا ملک پڑھیں گے جنازہ ادب کے ساتھ۔
اللہم صلی علی سیدنا و مولانا محمد وعلی آلہ وصحبہ وبارک وسلم۔
مرکز میں ڈالی لب پہ سجا کر درود کی، مرکز میں ڈالی لب پہ سجا کر درود کی، دیکھوں گا میں حضور کا، دیکھوں گا میں حضور کا چہرہ ادب کے ساتھ۔
اللہم صلی علی سیدنا و مولانا محمد وعلی آلہ وصحبہ وبارک وسلم۔
میرا ہے یہ عقیدہ وہ جنت میں جائے گا، میرا ہے یہ عقیدہ وہ جنت میں جائے گا، ماں باپ کا جو چومے گا، ماں باپ کا جو چومے گا تلوہ ادب کے ساتھ۔
اللہم صلی علی سیدنا و مولانا محمد وعلی آلہ وصحبہ وبارک وسلم۔
اے کاش
على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليه وعلى آله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Dr. Mike just mentioned that earlier that many people from Bury had the good fortune of meeting and spending time with Qibla Haji Isa rahmatullahi alayhi. So now I'm going to share just a few encounters from these people. I think they're too shy to talk themselves. So that we can get a better insight into his beautiful character. One person who's very close to Qibla Haji Isa, and in fact he stayed in the company for a long time, he relates some amazing incidents. In one such account, he says he shows the kind of care and affection that Qibla Haji Isa had for the devotees. And he says, I once bought some mangoes and I made the intention of keeping them aside for Qibla Haji Isa so they can have them in the evening with their meal. Now, during the day, some visitors came and Qibla Haji Isa, they asked me, they said, are there any gifts to give to these guests? And I said, Janab, there's nothing that I can think of. Then he told me to take the guests and feed them. And I did as instructed. And then later in the evening, I brought out the mangoes and presented them to Qibla Haji Isa. He said, where have these come from? He asked. I said that I brought them earlier and I kept them aside just for you. And he looked at me with tears in his eyes and he said, if they are not good enough for our companions, then they are not good enough for us. And the same person, he mentions another incident. He relates that one day I thought to myself, I'm a bit out of shape, so perhaps I should exercise. So I began exercising. And that night, I slept in the same room as Qibla Haji Isa. And during the night, I woke up in great pain in my shoulders and I began crying because the pain was so intense. And Qibla Haji Isa, they woke up and they asked me, they said, what's the matter? And I said, I've got severe pain in my shoulders. They began massaging him. They said this person relates that they began massaging my shoulders, and they even asked their son, they said, bring some herbal tea, and then after which the pain subsided. And in the morning, Qibla Haji Isa, they inquired, they said, what was it that you were doing that gave you this type of pain? He explained that, I started exercising and overdid it. And then they lovingly remarked, they said, oh, you foolish person. So you don't exercise all in one go, you've got to gradually ease into it. Qibla Haji Isa, just from this incident, he did not consider it, beneath him to offer service to those around him. He loved and valued his companions more than himself. One of the local brothers from Bury, he says that I once went to meet Qibla Haji Isa with my cousin. And on this particular occasion, Qibla Haji Isa were in a particular area, a different area. And as I had not been there, I asked Qibla Haji Isa's driver to give me the instructions. But his instructions weren't clear, and soon enough we were lost. I tried calling him several times, no answer. Then eventually when he answered, I said, good person you are, yeah? You're not even picking your phone up. Then I soon realized it was actually Qibla Haji Isa on the other line, on the other side of the phone. They greeted me and then they gave us crystal clear instructions to the location, including landmarks, road markings, exact turns. And soon enough, exactly as they described, we were at the place. And then whilst we were sat there, I noticed a camel in the fields, which was quite strange because in that area you don't normally see them. Then an old man appeared who was in the fields, and he said to Qibla Haji Isa that the milk was ready, and they just nodded and they acknowledged. And then they started to converse with us, and during the conversation, they asked for some water, which was given to them, and they drank it. And then they turned to us and they said, have you ever had camel's milk before? Would you like to try some? And of course, we obliged. Then the old man, he presented 2 glasses, but I noticed he wasn't too keen on giving them to us. That was because he actually prepared them for Qibla Bisa. So he turned to Qibla Bisa and he said, I prepared this for you. And they replied, well, I've just had water. And these glasses were given to us, and obviously we drank the milk delightfully. And it only occurred to me, only struck me later, that the reason Qibla Bisa asked for water to drink was solely to use it as an excuse so they can offer us the milk. Qibla Bisa's beautiful character shone through in every situation. And many will testify to his sincerity, his genuine care, and his beautiful conduct. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us connected to and in the company of his pious friends. اللهم صل على
محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم
اسم اپنے دی شوق الہی ہر دم دیوے مینوں وقت نزادے شوقاں دے اندر یاد کرا میں تینوں وقت نزادے شوقاں اندر یاد کرا میں تینوں اللہ 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 کر دیا ربا وچے اللہ مر جاوا جا جارو جسے وچ ہووے تیرا اسم پکاوا جا جارو جسے وچ ہووے تیرا اسم پکاوا باج تیرے کچھ نظر نہ آوے جت ول نظر اٹھاوا اٹھ دیا بہندیا ٹر دیا پھر دیا تیرا ذکر پکاوا اٹھ دیا بہندیا ٹر دیا پھر دیا تیرا ذکر پکاوا قلب منور کر دے میرا برکت اسم الہی جت ول دیکھا تو ہی دسے غیر نہ دسے کائی جت ول دیکھا تو ہی دسے غیر نہ دسے کائی اللہ 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 अल्लाह कर दिया रब्बा मेरी जान कढ़ाई मुर्शिद माँ प्यो राजी रहवन फजल करे रब साई मुर्शिद माँ प्यो राजी रहवन फजल करे रब साई अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली व सल्लिम व बारिक अलैहि व अला आलिहि अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मद व अला आलि मुहम्मद व सल्लिम मदद 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 या सय्यदी मदद मदद या रसूल अल्लाह मदद 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 या सय्यदी मदद मदद या रसूल अल्लाह मदद या सिद्दीक़ मदद या फारिसी मदद या कासिम मदद या صادق مدد يا بسطامي مدد يا خرقاني مدد 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 يا سيدي مدد مدد يا رسول الله مدد يا فرمادي مدد يا همداني مدد يا خضر مدد يا بجدواني مدد يا عارف مدد يا فغلاوي مدد 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 يا سيدي مدد مدد يا رسول الله مدد يا رامتني مدد يا سماسي مدد يا أمير الكلاب مدد يا شاهي نقشبان مدد يا عطار مدد يا شرفي مدد 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 يا سيدي مدد مدد يا رسول الله مدد يا أحرار مدد يا بخاري مدد يا درويش مدد يا إمكاني مدد يا باكي سيدي مدد مدد يا رسول الله مدد يا شرف الدين مدد يا سلطان الأولياء مدد يا دارستاني مدد يا مولاي مدد يا مرشدي مدد يا حقاني مدد 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 يا سيدي مدد مدد يا رسول الله مدد 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 يا سيدي مدد مدد يا رسول الله اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليه وعلى آله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. As Dr. Majid said, it's impossible to do Haji Pir's life any justice in the short time we have tonight. So for this very reason, I'll try to just shed some light on his character, focus on his commitment and humility. Born in Jhelum on the 4th of September 1957, Haji Pir Sahib was nurtured and raised by his father in a modest but pious environment. His birth brought so much joy within the family and the Sanghis. His arrival meant that his noble lineage of the family would continue. Naturally, his entire family and Sanghis loved him. However, it was his grandmother, Qibla Mai Sahaba, who had special affection for him. His father, Hazrat Sahib, was a remarkable spiritual guide. He was steadfast in his devotion to the Sharia and the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad. Although he was always discreet in his practices, what's so evident is how he transformed the entire landscape of Azad Kashmir, building mosques, guiding people, looking after the poor and destitute, and teaching the Sanghis. It was through him that Haji Pir Sahib received extensive training and guidance in his education. As with the family tradition, Haji Pir Sahib began his education at home with his father at the age of 4 years, 4 months and 4 days. A lot of effort was made to train him from a very young age, and from childhood, Haji Pir Sahib was allocated duties, most of which would be so difficult for many people to do, yet he never neglected his father's instructions and practices. For example, since the age of 4, he never missed a single congregational prayer in the mosque. And it was at the age of 5 when he travelled with his mother to perform Hajj that he was known as Haji Pir Sahib. During childhood, he behaved like an adult and was so reserved and didn't play with the other children. He hardly talked. But when he spoke, he only spoke very little, but with meaningful purpose. The special bond between Haji Pir Sahib and his grandmother was such that whenever he would be in trouble with his father, like all children do, he would run to her and hide behind her for protection. Now, although his father never raised his hand at any of his children, he only had to speak once, and that was enough. His word alone had enough weight to make his children do the right thing. At the age of 6, he began studying Hifz of the Quran under respected and devoted Sanghis of his father. It was a rigorous learning experience with long hours of study over a number of years. Unfortunately, he was gifted with exceptional memory that helped his progression. All his teachers noticed his beautiful adab that was always obvious with everything he did. A mark of his piety and commitment from a young age was how he never complained about anything. He accepted whatever instruction he received from Hazrat Sahib, from his clothing, education, even his diet when studying, which was just 1 chapati per day with nothing else other than just some butter. He was only 14 when he completed his first Quran recital during Taraweeh in Ramadan in Jailam. He went on to complete a total of 36 Quran recitations in Ramadan throughout his life. And in 1973, at the age of 16, Haji Pisab got married, and then just 3 years later, Hazrat Sahib gave him Khilafah. And this was the first Khilafah within the family. And even though there were older, respected Sangis around, none of them rebelled against this decision. For several years, Haji Pisab went through rigorous studying under the mentorship of Ustad Muhammad Hassan, Ustad Ghulam Hussain, Qari Muhammad Bashir, and Qari Muhammad Yusuf. Now these four were the main teachers in Haji Pisab's educational journey. All of them carefully guided him through Hifz, Tajweed, Fiqh, and Aqidah. He would recite so much awrad in between his studies that hardly giving his body any rest. And throughout his youth, he always sat in tashahhud position, as if kneeling in the position of prayer. He never sat cross-legged, as I'm sitting right here now, apart from later on in his life when he had health problems with his feet. His commitment was so astonishing that his father once remarked, "When I look at Haji Pisab's age and his commitment, I feel ashamed." After about 10 years, Haji Pisab graduated in the company of prominent scholars. To signify his achievement, they wrapped a turban on his head, and this is called Dastir Fazilat. At this award ceremony, students are also granted a certificate which contains a chain of authorities that proves the authenticity of the students' achievements. This chain traces back to the Prophet ﷺ. The two scholars who tied the turban around Haji Pisab's head were Sheikh Abdul Mustafa al-Azari and Allama Ghulam Rasul Rizvi. Haji Pisab had immense love and respect for all his teachers, not only because they were his teachers and the fact that they were mature in age, but because of their association with Hazrat Sahib and their possession of sacred knowledge. He valued this link. Upon seeing his teachers, he would always stand up out of respect for them. And likewise, his teachers also respected him for his noble lineage, his position, and his impeccable manners. He showed utmost respect, but never demanded it. He was never deluded by praise and disliked anyone standing up for him, even his own students. However, on the other hand, if scholars or the Ahlul Bayt came to him, he would most definitely stand up for them. After graduating, he began teaching, and his area of interest was Hadith, Fiqh, and Aqidah. 7 years later, in 1990, he began travelling, building mosques in the Punjab area. Upon meeting